Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I want to apologize for being late. I had to make use of public transport this morning. So that's why I'm late. So firstly, I want to apologize. I want to welcome everyone in this is now my second new portfolio, my first meeting of corporate service. I think I had a meeting with my department, so there's a lot of changes going to happen in this agenda. But firstly, let me welcome everyone that is here, members that is present, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Lowe, Councillor Sabach, Councillor Chokolo send an apology to my WhatsApp. Councillor Beauty Charlie, is he here? And then I also see there's a vacancy. Are we going to handle that, Joel? Okay, so we're going to note that vacancy on that report. Okay, members absent with leave, there's none. It's only Councillor Chokola that sent me an apology. Absent without leave. Other councillors present? I think maybe Councillor Charlie will join us.
Good morning, Chairperson. I am present online.
Yes, other councillors present. I see on Teams is Councillor Vanston, the Deputy Mayor is here, and the Mayor is here. And Councillor Mark Willemse is here. Is present. Officials present. I see the MM is here, Mona is here, Lazial is here, Director Planning is here, Director Infrastructure, Lulene, Mr. Kalani, Mr. Bota, Rainwell, Maryland, and Director Corporate Services here. And Joel Sidwell and the team is here. Noting of the provision of the Code of Conduct for councillors. Any councillors want to declare anything? No one wants to declare. Presentation, there's none. Minutes of the previous meeting, held 21 November 2024. Can we adopt that minutes? Okay.
There are no minutes. The minutes will be going to the mayoral committee.
I remember now, yeah, I think the previous chair sent that minutes directly to the mayoral committee. Okay, before we move on with the agenda, my director will excuse us from this meeting. She has an urgent commitment to attend to, but the department, oh yeah, maybe around 10 or 9:30 she will be excused. She has an urgent matter to attend to. But the team is here. They will take the meeting forward. I just want the director to indicate which items we will be removing from the agenda due to site visits that we haven't done and certain issues that is not cleared. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I want to undertake that this is something that will not necessarily happen in the future. We would normally have, with you, we will in the future be having our meetings to determine what items will be tabled onto your agenda prior to the publication of the agenda. It is unfortunate that by the time that I arrived last week, an agenda had already been published. But following some engagements with the staff and our pre-Section 80 meeting with yourself, it became apparent that some of the items had not actually been properly processed in order for this committee to be in a position to agree with some of the recommendations made. So, Councillor, I would want to go through the items that I'm wanting to respectfully request that we withdraw it, because I think it's important that prior to items being tabled, particularly with this committee and the various applications for properties belonging to the municipality and for purchases as well as for leases. Some of these properties are in locations where we believe it's important that the councillors know and understand what the actual site looks like and where it is situated. And with that said, the items that are impacted by necessary site visits that need to be undertaken is item 7.1. Oh, sorry. Yes, item 7.1 is one of the items where there was actually reports that had been made about site visits, but it's not all contained within the item that is before us. So it's very difficult for me to have assessed whether these recommendations, how they can actually be recommended without that being there. And I've actually asked the department that we will look at an improved report for that particular item. That is 7.1. 7.4 is again one of the reports where there are reported site visits that would presumably have taken place, but there's no report on what actually transpired. So I have no idea of whether those site visits were positive for the recommendations or what the implications thereof would have been. 7.8 is an application where I have been told that there have been actually various other applications for the same property, and we are dealing with it ad hoc. So I've asked that we withdraw this as well so that we can actually look at all of those applications as a totality, and potentially we would need to do a site visit in respect of those other applications as well. Then 7.9, this is a new item that is before council, but the new items, I think in the future, as the chairperson has indicated, we will first visit the sites before we actually table it for this committee to be able to make a logical recommendation. The same with 7.11 and 7.12 and 7.13.
In 7.10, sorry.
And 7.10. This is the church applications. Sorry, not 7.12, I meant 7.13.
Thank you, Director. That is the items that will be removed from the agenda. Councillor Low, I think you want to speak on 7.4.
Yes, Chairperson, I just greetings everyone. I just want to greet also the MM and his team. I also want to greet and I also want to welcome. I will do the formal welcoming in the council meeting for the director corporate. 7.4. Is this side visit about the fight that we were having about someone from Namibia that want to purchase that piece of land? Is it that that we visit? Is it the one that the guy from Namibia that Councillor Campbell didn't agree on? Is it that one?
Chairperson, through you. Yes, this is the one in Buffalo Bay, where that guy's not from Namibia. It's where the neighbors are complaining that they don't want him to buy that piece of land.
Is it the one that we have visited already 3 times?
Yes.
So we are going to visit now a 4th time?
Chairperson, that is the one where I said the withdrawal is so that a proper report on there's no report in this item regarding what transpired at the site visits, so that we can just include that within the report so that it is, council can apply their minds to all of the correct information. So I also was just told about site visits that took place, but there was nothing in the report that gave me an indication of how those site visits transpired so that I can see whether the recommendations, whether it's supportable or not.
Thank you, Director. Yes, me and the Director did have a brief discussion on these type of site visits. And what we decided yesterday, that site visits must be recorded because sometimes it confuses Jill as well as the administrator because she doesn't know what takes place on site visits. And then they said she must write that and that and that, and then it's not a true reflection on the reports. So for future sake, the Director did indicate that for all site visits, there will be a recordings on site because it doesn't reflect on the reports as what transpired on site visits. The DM and then Councillor Lau, I did indicate that we will have a lot of questions on this item.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, and your committee, Municipal Manager, Directors, and as well as the newly appointed Director. Welcome once again to Knysna Municipality. Chair, with all due respect to this item, first of all, if you're going to stand down this item, it's going to be wasteful to this councillors and officials that has taken their time to visit all these sites, because we took almost half a day from between Sedgefield and Buffalo Bay to visit the sites. The officials that were present there was, in fact, Renwell, he was there. I think Nello was also there. So I think it's for record purposes, they are here to give a report back on what has transpired. Councillors that were present there already took a decision, although it needs to be finalized through this section and council for approval, that we must go with what was proposed on the day. So I don't understand why there's now another delay. The only person that, in fact, why she's now putting up her hand was Councillor Campbell. They did not want to agree with the other councillors. So we must not come here and try and play politics. We've taken a decision there, and we should adhere to our own decisions unless we are saying, nee, julle is nie bevoeg om julle eie besluite te neem as a council. If that is the case, then I would assume that it was in fact wasteful for us to have gone throughout the whole day to all of those site visits, you know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DM. I think you don't understand what the Director is actually saying. She's not saying that we must go back to site visits. If you read, perhaps if you read recommendation C, it says that the final site meeting be arranged and the applicant and representatives from the Buffalo Bay Association be invited. That is not a true reflection. We already had a site visit on the 20th of November. So the recommendations on the report is not correct. It's not a true reflection because we already had a site visit. So what she is saying is that she must go back with the department and change the recommendations because a lot has taken place because the recommendations in this report is not correct.
Chair, with all due respect, sorry, just a follow-up. If the recommendation is not correct, it is for this committee to change the recommendations because they were there, they were present. With the officials that were present, they can give guidance on the matter. But it's not for the director, with all due respect to her, to change the recommendation or to go and sit down again with the department because that part was done already. This committee must make the recommendations to council. Thank you.
Councillor Lau.
Thanks. I understand. I saw, yeah, this whole recommendation is wrong. So I will agree with Councillor Chairperson that we take it back and we deal with it. Because I don't want to go now deep into it. Because we can't have situations where we have wrong recommendations in front of us. Then it will come down to people doesn't do their job. So I will agree with you, Chairperson, Let this one stand over and we move. So,
Chair, I agree.
Another chairperson, we change items, we stand them down. I think that really, as Councillor Deputy Mayor was saying, this is a political structure. These are recommendations, nothing else but recommendations. And recommendations are recommendations. For instance, this portfolio committee can take a decision, make recommendations to make or cancel. Council can change those recommendations. So really, for future, we must avoid a situation where really we stand down items, because it is not easy to convene these meetings. And some of the things you find that we are beaten by time. You know, I would request that there is a special meeting organized so that all the items that have been stood down can get back to the agenda, so that we are not, you know, behind in terms of the things that must be done, but also in terms of the disposal of assets. If you are disposing an asset, you know, there's a procedure in finance, in SCM, on how an asset is disposed, a municipal asset. That procedure must be there, it must be followed, so that tomorrow we are not challenged, whether it's Namibian, whether it's Polish, whether it's Russian. But for me, the critical issue is that the procedure must be followed. And then the best one, somebody with a big pocket wins the day. So I would really ask the chair that maybe within the next 2 weeks, let's have a special meeting so that these items are not left behind in terms of the council processes.
Thank you, Yes, we did indicate that we will first check for a date to do all the site visits at one, and the special section 82 to do the items that was that we stand over. Committee, can we move?
yes, Councillor, first of all, the process, we want to see the processes correctly. We want to see when we take decisions is correct decisions. So that's why we as a committee, we want this item to stand down, get the right information, put it in front of us, then we make this, that go to the Mayoral Committee, and from there council will be ultimate to make a decision. Because the council is the highest decision-making body of this whole municipality. No one else, only council are making decisions.
Councillor Campbell?
Yes, Chair. Chair, myself and Councillor Lowe and the rest of us have been on this committee since its inception. The Deputy Mayor, who now has had weighed in on this, was not a member of this committee. The site visit he attended was not a site visit in connection with this item. We actually had a site visit in terms of IRF 1692. The first item on the agenda went past that place. The site visit was attended, the DM had a lot to say and basically decided it would be approved. I want to place this on record. The council, before that resolved, or the committee, that the objectors from Buffalo's Bay and the committee must be invited to the site visit. They were not present. We then had a site visit where everybody was invited, where the DM, if I remember correctly, was not present. This item completely misleads this committee because it makes no mention of the fact that council has in fact refused this application on a previous occasion. That also has legal implications. So I just want to say, Chair, one's got to be very careful if people who were not part of the process from the beginning, with respect, you also did not know the background and this item doesn't give it to you, or want to sort of dictate to this committee what we want to do. So I agree that we have to remove it and that it has to be presented properly. Thank
Chairperson,
you,
with
Chair.
all due respect, I just want to correct Councillor. I am in no way in a position to dictate to you as the committee. You are the ones that make the recommendations. I was just placing it on record what I've said, and I will not apologize for that. Yes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Committee, let's move with the items. Let's move to item 7.2, page 31, the report on corporate service, SDBIP, quarterly report.
Chair, just for record purposes, are we all as a committee agreeing then that all these items that have been mentioned, 7.1, 7.4, 7.8, 7.9, 7.11, 7.13, and 7.10 are removed from the item and will be dealt with later? Are we all agreeing with that as a committee? Well, just to, it needs to be recorded. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Sabah, 7.1, 7.4, 7.8, 7.9, 7.10, 7.11, and 7.13. We will remove it to a special meeting, site visit meeting, and then a special section 80. Okay, so any inputs on item 7.2, committee members? Then can we note the report? Yes? Okay, let's move then. Item 7.3, public participation quarterly report. Nothing on public participation? Page 36? Nothing. So public participation's report is,
Before you
okay, Mr. Kalani?
you confirm the item, there's just a correction on page 3. The public report back meeting is not Ward 10, it's Ward 3 on the 29th. Page 3 of the report. Get 36, and then the report is, there's a page, another numbering of pages, 1, 2, 3. Councillor Sabah?
I'm on page 3 of the report. So what are we saying?
On the 29th are under October 2024, public meetings. You see there? Yeah, it's not Ward 10, it's Ward 3.
Which is page 3 of the report.
Joel, do you note the change?
Chairperson, I have a very serious problem. Very serious. Especially when they're doing these loudels for our community meetings. Only they like to drive here past 9. I understand they don't have enough manpower to deal with all the areas of Naisna. But people must understand from 6:30, most people come from work from 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, the later some of them are coming at home at 7:30, except the people that are working in the restaurants. They will arrive at home at 10 o'clock. But it's important for us, when we loud hail, then we must make sure it must happen between 5 and 8 o'clock, because then is the majority of people are receiving the message. Also, now we have, people must now, I hope, when we don't have water, public participation go out and inform people that we have a water shortage or there's a problem, and they go out and loud hail. Because some of our people in our disadvantaged communities doesn't have the luxury to read or to see on their phones or to have these Wi-Fi where they can find out now, but there is now a problem. If we have these problems, then communication must go out and people must go in Loudale so they can understand that we have a problem about water in these areas, and be louder and people have been informed. Also with the message that a truck is going to roam around so they can get water. I think we have to also do that. I just want to find out, is it possible for us to do that? Because most of the majority of our disadvantaged area doesn't have these luxuries. But if we allow the hill, then they can know that they are working on the problem, the walking truck is coming, people must be ready, and all kind of that. Because the only thing that we are relying now is on social media. While people in disadvantaged areas, some of them doesn't have the luxury that we have. So I just want to make that comment around it. Because it's very important. Very, very important. Because everyone in this country have that right. When there's no water, have the right to water. So they can also be informed. It doesn't have to be only water, but also if there's any disasters that's going to take place and we are be informed, like weathers and things that is going to happen, then people can prepare themselves. There's also things that we can inform our communities. Thanks.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Chairperson. We note the comments from Councillor Lowe, and I think as a discussion with the top management, perhaps, for example, with your water scenario, we could be looking at potentially putting in loud hailing equipment on the water trucks themselves, so that there is a siren or something of that sort to let people know exactly in the neighborhood when trucks go past and where they are in a particular neighborhood. But we will take up that discussion on a senior management level and see how we can actually outfit our vehicles that we utilize for interventions to be able to assist in that process as well. But I hear you that when there is a big crisis, that we take note of, firstly, the times that we announce so that we can be sure people are there, but also that we look at what type of events we announce that we would normally just have published. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to make a comment in terms of this particular item. We had our IDP meetings last year. We've had various public feedback meetings, ward committee meetings, etc. One of the complaints that comes forward on a regular basis is the lack of communication from the municipality. The municipality notifies communities literally on the day of the meetings that are to be taking place. In Ward 9 specifically, the forestry villages are not included. There's no loud hailing taking place there, or maybe even notifying the community leaders in those areas. So attendance at these meetings are particularly poor. And then not only that, attendance from the municipality in terms of officials is also particularly poor. So residents are getting frustrated because they feel that they're not getting the ear of the municipality and or officials, and they're not getting fair notice on the calling of these meetings, and therefore do not have time to prepare in terms of attending the meetings. So if that could also be addressed, please, so that we can improve our relationship as a municipality with communities. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to touch on what Councillor Sabah have just said, I think it's important for us as an institution to really beef up with the communication as well as loud hailing. I'm going to make an example. We receive various communication from Home Affairs, where there's outdoor site visits in our different communities. Yesterday, they visited Renendal. There was absolutely no communication, although they have sent out a schedule to the Public Participation Department. Today, they are in Karatra, for instance. Communication doesn't get out to them to notify them about these important services rendered to our different communities. The only time that people actually knew yesterday that the mobile facility was in Renendal was when one of the CWP workers put on a group to say, hey, Home Affairs is here now, you must come. Now, just imagine, we've got a lot of matriculants now that needs to get new IDs. You send out the message past 9 to say Home Affairs are here now. How are we going to reach those children? There's a lot of people that needed to stay out of work, but they couldn't. You see, because they were not notified. And we as councillors also didn't know about it. So it comes back, once again, like I said, communication is key. If they know well in advance, communicate with our communications department to put out something on our social media platforms so that people can be aware. Please, 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 please. Thank you, Chair.
The other thing that I failed to mention earlier is that there's things that are happening in various wards where the ward councillors themselves are not even aware. So if the municipality officials are aware of a function or distributing of water in a particular area, and I'm going to raise it again in terms of the forestry villages, there was apparently a water truck distributing water in Swanneberg the other day. And the residents of Swanneberg, not all of them were even aware, and I, as the ward councillor, wasn't even aware. So if I'm at least aware of it, I could at least communicate to the specific areas. Now, this is something that has happened, and I think it was on our local councillors' WhatsApp group with regard to an issue, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think Councillor Petros was raising it, and he was also indicating that there was a lack of communication, particularly around the distributing of water trucks. So while I note what the Director, Corporate Services indicated, I would ask, please, that ward councils are included in terms of activities and or municipal services that are being provided. For instance, toilets that are being distributed into the areas, water trucks that are being distributed or roaming around to address water challenges. There is no communication that comes through to councillors, specifically ward councillors. And I think if we could improve that in terms of notifying ward councillors, we could, as ward councillors, be able to help and assist in terms of improving communication into communities. It would make the municipality far more functionable. And I think that if you listen to what Councillor or the Executive Mayor, Councillor Matika, said, he referred to in his speech is that we all need to be united now and work in the best interests of the town. And I think that is part of the solution. And I think if I could please ask that that be recommended and that we go forward in that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we need to, I think the comments that were made are all very, very positive. But we need to sort of look at a mixture of old technology and new technology. Where necessary, inform people by WhatsApps, even if it's obviously the ward councillors and maybe members of groups. But I remember, I'm probably giving away my age, that when we were children, the ice cream bicycle, or the later days, the soft serve cart would come driving through our suburb and it would play a tune. And you'd have enough time to run, find your mother, get some money, buy some ice cream. So if these water trucks, if the loudhailers can have some sort of a tune or something they play that the community is aware of, then at least if you're sitting in the neighborhood and you hear it, you now know it's there. You also want to inform people in advance that they have an idea when the water truck will be there. But that would be a simple thing to do, and it would work, because as I say, I've certainly think those of us who've still had the good old days of ice cream bicycles or ice cream trucks, we always knew when the ice cream because of a little bell that was ringing or a tune that was playing. So thank you, Chair.
Director Community Service.
Chair, most of the emergency vehicles, if they are registered as such, they're equipped with a public address system. So I'll just make sure that these trucks have got a public address system and maybe a system with a siren, and we can use that maybe just to alert public that truck is on its way or in a certain area.
Thank you, Director.
Sorry, Chair. But we also must understand that some of these water trucks are not municipality trucks. Ne? They are private trucks.
Thank you, Councillor Low. Let's move No further comments on public participation's report. So let's move to item 7.5, the report back on Skills Development Center, South Cape College, page 103. Councillor Lowe.
Chairperson, I understand they want our piece of land, but the last time I said that the education department, they have a piece of land. Do you remember yesterday people were there was an issue around, someone put up a board, this land doesn't belong to education department, but it was on the other side. That land on the other side belongs to the education department. And why I can state it belongs to the education department, that land is big. Previous years, if people know nice now, there was a massive course on that piece of land. It belongs to the education department. If they want our piece of land, they must give that so we can build social housing on that piece of land. Then it's easy for us to say, okay, that's fine. We can give you this, but we want this one. So we can build social housing on that piece of land. We can identify it because it's a big area. There can be the same style of flats. You see next to that piece of land, there's most a flat area where people have flats. We can have the same there. Because there's also a big piece of land there. That they have education department, they have it. But I don't know why they don't look into it. So we must just see how maybe we can swap it with them, and then you can have that piece and we can build social housing for our people.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think this item I would also respectfully submit we remove, and I'll tell you why. There's a number of things in this report that's before us that are not actually correct. On page 105, current usage of property. It's viable. Yes, it is viable. Current value, 5.9. Intended future use. The municipality has no intended future use. Chair, we are giving away extremely valuable properties that are situated in the CBD. I'm asking you that we remove this item, that we have a workshop, and I know we have too many workshops, but I think this is one that we really need to look at. We need office space. We need a homeless shelter. We need housing. We need accommodation. We need a skill center. Yes, absolutely. But I want us to remove this, to have a workshop where we look at the properties in the CBD and also in the industrial area. And another thing, Chair, we have not visited any of these sites. We're just saying we're giving it away. We have not visited any of these sites as committee. Let's have a sensible look at this. We all want a skill center. Education's important to us. We also need office space. We need accommodation for people. This property at some stage was also earmarked for housing, for social housing. So we cannot just rush through these things. This item, I just want to remind you, came to us as a quick rush job because last year they said they wanted to start in June. And we just went through and we said, sure, we want this thing to start. They haven't started in June. We have to now sit. We also cannot just give away land if we need it for service delivery. We have not done a proper assessment of all these things. Chair, so I ask that we remove this item, that we have a workshop where we focus on the urgent needs of what we need, what land we have, and that we then make an informed and a sensible decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. The Mayor also just indicated he has to fill an urgent commitment, so then we must apologize him for not being here now. Councillor Sabach, and then...
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Campbell took the words out of my mouth. I would agree. While we have an urgent need for a skills centre, and we've just debated this, I think it must be at least 2.5, 3 years now, and yet have not come to a conclusion. For me, it's reflective of where we're at as a municipality. We can't seem to be making decisions at all, and we have said the youth need skills. We need to uplift, we need to skill them so that they can find jobs. But yet we continually delay and delay and delay. However, the item itself is not addressing what needs to be done and how we need to do it. We're also sitting with a critical item, and I know it was an in-committee item, but we have a problem with regard to the issues around properties that we could use for municipal offices that belong to the municipality, particularly the flats within town. And I think we need to be very mindful of that because that could be a major problem going forward. So flats that we do have in town, and there are a number of them, I think we need to just look carefully if we can be renting them out so we can recover some kind of money as an interim basis so that we know that if we are requiring office space, they are available for us to utilize it on a short-term basis. Otherwise, we're going to sit with a crisis, a major crisis on our hands with regard to office accommodation. So I'm in agreement with Councillor Campbell that this item should be removed and it should be properly considered. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Chair, thank you. Looking at this item, respectfully to the two councillors, you know, part of what Councillor Sabah was saying is I'm agreeing with, because mine is we, as this institution, at this stage seems like we don't know how to make decisions and how to implement those decisions. Because this particular item was brought to us, there was a public participation process, there was one comment made. And if we understand the current need, South Cape College keeps on coming back to my department to say, you can't apply your mind, you can't make a decision, and we want to start with this college. Because they need to submit applications for funding, but they are depending on this agreement, this lease agreement, which was supposed to be resolved a long time ago. But due to the fact that we, or this committee, cannot really apply their mind, we're actually playing, as you rightfully said, with kids that really need the education in this town. Just recently, we have appointed service providers of which South Cape College is part of. This space could have been used now, but now due to the fact that we are now saying, no, sorry, we cannot give you this space. This then means that these participants from Neisner now need to travel to either Bito or to George again. Because we, as this council, cannot apply our minds or make up our minds. Social housing, yes, it's important. But what is more important is to get our kids and our students of this town educated. But we keep on playing with our people. And I can tell you today, if this is going to be the trend, people are going to judge us on 2026 when they need to put their X. Thank you.
Councillor Lowe.
Chair, I still say it. Education is very key. And I raised it in the last meeting. I was the first one to support that we must have skill centers. What I'm saying, I still say it. Education department have a big piece of land. A big piece of land. And all of us know where that piece of land is. Even they know where the piece of land. Even we inform them there where the piece of land is. And say to them, there's a piece of land, the grass is growing like nobody's business. Why are you also not looking into that piece of land? if you want to build something proper, why are you not doing that also? Why are you not coming and said you want to put in plans to deal with it? We don't say that we are not going to agree on what they want to do. We don't say here that we don't want education. That's not what we are saying. The question is that we are saying that let's really look into it and also come with ideas and say to them, you know that, Chairperson, you know that there's even a big piece of land in Brenton that belongs to the Education Department. That they have in Brenton, a proper piece of land. Why? The last time I said, why can't we not even build that college or that TV college there in Brenton? I raised it here. I was sitting there in a council meeting. So we are saying that education is important, but also we have to look into what do we want to achieve. First of all, the municipality, we struggle now with office spaces. We know what is the dilemma around it. We have to also to deal with that. We struggle to have our kids working in town because certain departments people have decided that we can't come and stay in town because there's no social housing. So we have to bring our people close also to town where they can work. And that is part of it. So education and also accommodation, because when you have students, you must have accommodation. You must have it. There must be accommodation when you have students. So what I'm saying, Chairperson, we have to look further into it, and we are going to make sober decisions. Unfortunately, some of us was in executive positions for 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and we have to blame ourselves for not taking proper decisions. All of us. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Willemse.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I partly do agree with the Deputy Mayor when it comes to decision making. If we're not careful, we'll end up with another homeless shelter scenario where everything just falls apart. So, you know, we can't keep throwing this ball backwards and forwards and hitting and missing. Somehow or somewhere we have to start making decisions. And the only way that this council, because we are so many different political parties, and we've all got our different mandates and different ideologies, etc., we're never going to come to a decision. What I think the best way to work is that this administration must put options in the recommendations. Investigate everything and bring it to the Section 80. It doesn't help we come with these airy-fairy decisions on the spur of the moment or without any information that can help us make a decision. Because then we float this way and this way. This one's got this idea, that one's got that idea, and we end up not doing anything, and then we are useless. And we are getting paid to be useless. That is how the public sees us when we cannot make decisions. And we can't make decisions because we're not getting all the information. We need everything. Before an item comes to a Section 80, to a mayoral committee, to a council, give us everything. Don't hold back on it. Don't, and I'm pleading with the departments and the MM. Investigate thoroughly all the options. Don't come and say, oh, we've got this piece of property that we can use for this, and it's airy-fairy. We sit here and we start bringing up all these wonderful ideas that could possibly happen of building castles and ski slopes and I don't know what else, instead of focusing on the problem, the issue before us, because we do not have all the information. And once again, that's why half these items have been removed, because we don't have all the information. Councillors are blinkered. We need to be focused with information to be able to allow us to make the decisions. And I'm pleading with the administration. We need help. Councillors are dumb. We're here for politics and that's it. I'm not saying, I'm using that liberally. I don't want to insult anybody. But we need guidance when it comes to decision making, otherwise the decisions are not going to be made. As I said, case in point with the homeless shelter and other issues that are very, very pertinent to the community. So I'm pleading with the administration, help us to make those decisions by giving us all the information and putting options on the table. You guys are the specialists. Politicians have different focuses and different ideas, but give us the options, box it for us so that we can fight about those boxes and not everything else on the table. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Willemse. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yes, I want to make a proposal. We remove this item, but I think it has to go to a workshop. At the workshop, we need the following information. What are the pressing needs in this town? Educational institution, homeless shelter, offices, social housing. What are the pressing needs for property in this? What properties do the municipality own? What is the current zoning of the property, the size of the property? What properties in the town are zoned for business, for educational purposes, regardless of who owns them? We've got that information, because we can always then negotiate with other government agencies. And we must then have a workshop where we then can engage with this information, with everything before us, and we can decide on what is the most sensible land use for each property. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Saba.
We had a workshop, Chair, just recently with regard to our spatial development framework. And there were recommendations with regard to various things. And I think before we do anything, we need to be referring to that too. Because there is a need for educational institutions, from early learning centres to tertiary, primary, high school, and skills development centres. So there's a need across the board. So let's refer to that spatial development framework that is there as a working document already, and see from there where we can take this further. So I would like us to include referring to that in the recommendations made by Councillor Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you, committee members. So are we all in agreement to remove this item and do a workshop? Yes. Urgent workshop? All in agreement? Yes. Councillor Saba? Councillor Lau?
Chairperson, I hope we are not going to have a workshop in 2 months' time, because we have to make decisions and we have to make thorough, proper decisions. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lau. Let's move then. Item 7.6, page 112, report back on application for a lease agreement for a portion of 44 Buffalo Bay. Renwell, is this the parking? Are we all in agreement with this recommendation? Yeah. The fence. Oh, can we just add one recommendation there, Renwell, that they mustn't do a fence? Yes. Yeah?
No public access may be restricted to that parking area. Thank you.
Get that other, no? That no public access must be restricted on that.
No, the public must not be restricted from parking there. Okay. Yes.
And the other one is no fencing, ne? So, thank you. That item is then finished. Item 7.7. Page 120, application to lease a portion of 1343 14 Church Street. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I support the recommendation, except it must be a 3-year lease, not a 5-year lease, because this body. Chair, this is the property that is next to the apartments, Milkwood Apartments. Yeah, if we could make it 3 years, because there are also plans, I think, for those apartments. I don't know if it will involve the historic home, but I think 5 years is too long. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is that the nice case that we also have plans to put the municipal court there?
That's correct,
okay.
So that we can rather look at other uses. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So we're in agreement for 3 years? Yes. Okay. Thank you. That was 7.7. So we move to item 7.12, Human Resource Quarterly Report, page 255. Any Councillor Campbell?
Chair, can we discuss this item in committee? Because there's some questions that I want to ask that I think would be better done in committee, if I may ask for that.
Councillor Campbell, do you want the human resource report to stand over to the in committee
Yes, Chair, please.
item
Thank
with the legal one? Okay. And then we move to item 7.14. The approval of the ICT policies. We move. Page 292. We all in agreement we move, committee members? Okay, thank you. Item 7.15. That one as well. Okay, so both the IT items, it's on 409, Councillor Campbell. But I think we're all in agreement, we move with these items. Okay, before we move to the in-committee items, I think there's a supplementary agenda of legal. Item 7.16. Page 2 on the supplementary. Any questions? So we move with item 7. Okay. Manager Legal, do you want to speak on item 7.16? Okay.
Apologies, Chairperson, I thought we are at 7.17.
It's now 7.16. So we move with that item 7.16? Committee members? Okay, let's move 7.17.
Sorry, page 4. I just want to follow up. This is with regards to annual review of municipal bylaws, and we're sitting here with the draft coastal management bylaw that process commenced in February 2023, and that's same as with the two others. But why I'm mentioning this is quite pertinent when it comes to other legislation, and it does have a knock-on effect with regards to other law enforcement processes. So I'd just like to understand, it was withdrawn, item 5th of December, Council Assembly withdraw the item, and the Department currently awaits comments from DFFE. Where are we with this? This has been so long in coming out. I serve on pollution committees, I serve with sand parks, etc. And the question we keep getting is, where is our coastal management bylaw at? And because it affects a whole range, a raft of other management acts, and none of these can be implemented if this is not in place. So it's a very difficult situation that everybody else in is because the municipality is not really doing their job. And whether we're not doing our job or other departments are not doing it, once again, it's been lying there for almost 2 years now, since May 2023, and nothing has come up. So I'd just like an update on where we are with our coastal management bylaw. Thank you, Chair.
Marilyn?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, with regards to the rules of order, that process was delayed by the allocation of a workshop date. We will engage with your office and we will hopefully resubmit the amended bylaw to the special finance and governance meeting. And then with regards to the draft coastal management bylaw, there's been a lot of delays in that process, especially after the public comment phase. And there's an overlap between the functions recorded in the bylaw between us as a B municipality and the functions of the district. And there's also an issue about shared services because the main function of the coastal management currently resides with the district under the NEMA coastal management regulations. So there's also a pending SLA where the environmental department first has to engage the district. And once they agree that we share the services with specific regards to the maintenance, only then we will be able to resubmit the bylaw for consideration by council. And with regards to the keeping of dogs, council in December resolved that we advertise for public comment, which we did at the end of January. So that review will be retabled at the next round of Section 80s. Thank you, Chairperson.
Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Chair. Marilyn has answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are we all covered? Let's move to item 7.17. Marilyn, you want to say something on this item?
Thank you, Speaker. This item is also resubmitted for consideration by Council. We had 2 workshops in October last year, but we were unable to engage on the amendments proposed to the terms of reference of the disciplinary board. The committee will note on page 34 in the body of the item that the department only received comments on the amended TOR from Kim, and the amendments proposed by Kim is the first amendment is on page 4 under clause 2. You will see that amendment proposed there is the underlined part, and Kim is proposing unless the speaker and or council refers an investigation against the councillor to the board. The department is, however, of the view that it's only council who can refer a matter to the disciplinary board and not the speaker. So we propose that the speaker be deleted and only council makes the referral to the board. And then the second addition from Kim is on page 6. That is under clause 6 of the terms of reference. We are fine with the amendment, and the rest of the amendments proposed are just basically a cleaning up of the document. And what the department and not the department, the board did at the time is to also include a time frame. And that was indicated in clause 7.1, which is on page 8. So the terms of reference as with the proposed amendments are just being retabled for consideration and approval by council. Thank you, Chairperson.
Committee members, are we all in agreement?
Yes, Chair. I'm in agreement with what Ms. Bruton is saying.
With the item, are we in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 7.18. Marilyn, are you going to brief the committee slightly on this? It's page 48. It's just it's the judgment that came from, if maybe, just a small briefing on this. I think it's only for noting this item.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, at the request of the we drafted the item. The item just outlines the recent case, Supreme Court of Appeal case in the Mambisa matter. And on that, during that judgment, the court interpreted the meaning of Section 32 of the MFMA. And the effect of the implication of the judgment currently is that officials or political office bearers may be held personally liable for the incurrence of irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful, and also unauthorized. And this item has also been dealt with at the audit committee, and I think it also served at one of the impact meetings where the committee were taken through. About 2 weeks back, Chairperson, we received a circular, local government circular C1 of 2025 from the MEC's office, where the MEC is basically informing municipalities in the Western Cape about the implications of the judgment. And then you will see on page 53 that in terms of the circular of the MEC is also proposing certain recommendations to be considered by council, and that basically deals with the reporting of any UIFW expenditure, and that will be done through it's proposed that it be done through the Office of the CFO, SCM unit, who normally reports on the UIFW. So currently the item is for council to note the judgment and also to adopt the recommendations from the MEC with regards to the reporting of the UIFW expenditure. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Marilyn. So that item is only for noting. Committee members, we noted.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
I just want to know, in terms of this, for clarity, if we are saying that the officials and councillors can be held responsible for irregular expenditure, effective from which date can they be held accountable? Or is it that if there were judgments in the past, that's all, that can they be taken to task in terms of being those monies refunded? Can we claim, how far back can we go? Which date is it effective from?
Thank you, Chairperson. Councillor Sabah, from my understanding, the Section 32 has always been included in the Act. The court only interpreted the meaning of Section 32. So my understanding is that the personal aspect has been there. The court only cleared the interpretation of the section. If with specific regard to the criminal aspect also included under Section 32, we are always able to go and report it at SUP. So the personal liability aspect for me has always been there. But the court just clarified going forward and for us to caution against the incurrence. Thank you.
Amen.
I wanted to add that it has always been there since 2003 when the Municipal Finance Management Act came into effect. The investigation must take place by MPEC, as it is normally the case. Then MPEC must make a recommendation, as it always does. Then council must then ultimately be able to take a decision having due regard to the recommendation of the MPEC. So I think what the matter is has always been the abuse of that section, where you don't do your planning properly, you run to Section 32. So I think it's just saying we must be more circumspect in the application of Section 32, you know, of Regulation 32, so that it is not abused. Even before, you could help hold somebody responsible for that particular, if the investigation proves that indeed it was not in the best interest of the council. Thank you very much.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yes, I think it might be important to give the councillors at the council meeting the very important interpretations from this decision. The one thing that I think is we should actually have on the walls in capitals is what has always happened is many times expenditure has been written off because we received value. And I've always had a huge problem with that because I've said, so, okay, so you can give all the tar roads in the country to one company. They do a fantastic job. And you write, but you didn't follow a proper process, and you now write off the irregular expenditure because you received value. And the Supreme Court of Appeal has made it very, very clear, and I think it's important that everybody in this organization takes note of it, is that it is not a reason to write off irregular expenditure because you received value. So even if you receive the best value on earth, the Act is very strictly worded. You can only write it off if it's irrecoverable. And irrecoverable is really when the person doesn't have money. You're going to be wasting your money. So it really places every official who signs something at risk. I personally think it's almost a bit harsh, but this is, I totally agree with the interpretation of the court, because that's the wording of Section 32. They may need to look at some law reform, but in the meantime, we have got to be extremely cautious before we sign off and approve payments on irregular expenditure, because the court has been loud and clear. If it's irregular, you may not pay it, and if you pay it, it's got to be recovered from whoever authorized it or incurred it. I cannot overstate the seriousness of and the implications of this case. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to move to the in-committee items now. It's requested that we're going to first start with item 7.12 as an in-committee item. So we move to the in-committee